and also sharing it live on Facebook. So feel free to share from our page there. In the end, we'll have a short Q&A session, but feel free to drop your questions in the chat during the webinar as we go along. And without further ado, as we have little time today, I want to give the word to our partners at ISDB and ISFD. First, ISFD, if they could share some opening welcoming remarks with us. So over to you, Mohammed.
I think you forget yourself muted, Mohammed Jawabre.
Yes, you are correct.
Mohammed Aga, or which Mohammed? I think it's Mohammed Jawabre.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Stella. Thank you, Iyas. Good morning. First, I would like to thank you all for being with us in this event, and of course for the colleagues from the RSD, the UNDP for arranging for also this event, this important one. I would start my introduction about one of the Prophet Muhammad said, a believer to believer is like a building whose different parts enforce each other's. المؤمن للمؤمن كالبنيان يشد بعضه بعضا. Of course, this is part of the Islamic ethics and principles, which is supporting the idea of giving in Islam. As you know, all funding is the most popular and important challenge for most CSOs and NGOs initiatives for addressing poverty. And my remarks mainly are connecting the program with ISFD and this event talks with our mandate altogether. And addressing poverty as a multidimensional phenomenon through these initiatives that is being proposed by the different CSOs and NGOs make the challenge of funding more severe. And financial inclusion, of course, would require and demand more funding. The recent impacts of the COVID pandemic crisis make poverty more severe as many people lost their jobs. Several businesses were closed after releasing their employees. And those who were able to keep in business were suffering of the drop in their income and demand. The Islamic Solidarity Fund for Development, or ISFD, we call it ISFD, is the poverty alleviation arm within the Islamic Development Bank, which was established in 2007 as a special endowment fund within the body of the bank and mandated for fighting poverty in OIC member countries. Different programs and projects were developed with ISFD in different prioritized sectors to be able to tackle poverty and build the resilience of the communities. The ISFD IDB NGO Empowerment for Poverty Reduction program is one of these programs. And this is, of course, the Tadamon is one of the outcomes from the communication strategy. This program is tailored to support the CSOs and NGOs in IDB member countries with a capacity building, visibility, awareness, alternative financing, and building a network of good implementing partners. Of course, we have many other types of programs that also support the efforts of reducing poverty, supporting resource mobilization and income generation, like the Ihsan Waqf investment funds, the Waqf lands development, which we may talk about it if we have additional time, as IWIF also relevant to the main subject of today's discussion, and the ability to engage Sadaqah and Zakat in these funds. In general, I will not talk much time, but the modalities of financing usually from the ISFD, the Islamic Solidarity Fund for Development, are mainly through concessional loans, grants, and guarantees. ISFD has developed some kind of sustainability module in order to ensure good planning for the long-term financing that we are providing. Based on this model, the grants are very limited because it's only representing about 10% of our net income. And to ensure the sustainability, we have to take into consideration this model, which was developed also in collaboration with consultants. The Tadamon platform in general contains several features and services that providing to CSOs and the NGOs. The part of it is the alternative financing, the access for the alternative financing and capacity building. Of course, this is part of the important funding that CSOs needs in order to go through the proposals and projects that they would like to implement within their communities. Today, I think with our speakers, we will be able to learn more from their extensive experience in this field and see some success stories that would also inspire us to gain this knowledge and extend our interventions. Also, inshallah, this would be inspiring the other, I would say, programs and CSOs that is working in the same field to take part of these experiences to be as a lessons learned to be implemented. I will not take much time. I think just a small opening remarks, but maybe I took more than what was planned just to make and assure that to put these all in the same context and the ISFD relevance, this program importance for the CSOs and the features of this program, which is today part of it is the talking about the Islamic finance and the crowdfunding as one of the services provided. Thank you all the participants, the speakers for being with us today and enriching this discussion. Over to you, yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this wonderful context. Eyas, over to you for a couple of more words before we give the word to the panelists.
Thank you. So, good morning, good evening, everyone. And on behalf of the Islamic Development Bank and my colleague within the program, would like to thank all of you for your interest to join this webinar as we are talking about the culture of Islam of giving. And as you all know that the methods change by time. And now at our time, we have crowdfunding and online crowdfunding as a tool for you to implement, for you to give and also to collect and give it to the right people through you to be this tool to implement that. And this is why on our Tadamon program, we have such an extra activity such as Tadamon Talk, the 4th series, and this will continue. Usually we pick up a special topic because this topic need to shed the light on this topic, need to keep it under the microscope and to share it with others and also to gain experience from you. It's not only from us to give you, we also, you are working at the grassroots and your thoughts, your discussion will encourage us to do more. Tadamon, again, it's aggregated the platform for the NGOs Empowerment for Poverty Reduction Program. And it's, as I usually say, always, it's your program and it's your area to be inventive. It's your area to implement and to cooperate. And I encourage every one of you, if you do not attend any of or if you did not join Tadamon recently, to visit Tadamon, to explore more what we are doing, what we are offering, and all of these services. It's for you to be empowered and for you to be an active tool at your community and for your community. Will not take more time because our aim today is to give it for the expert to talk about and for you to discuss with them and to share your knowledge in this regard. Thank you, everyone. And I would like to thank you, NDB team, for making this done, for all of the efforts that on the behind or on the back rooms to prepare such an important event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eyas. And hello and welcome to everyone. My name is Marina Petrovic, and I'm part of the amazing Tadamon team, along with the colleagues from the Islamic Development Bank and Islamic Solidarity Fund for Development. I'm pleased to welcome you all to Tadamon Talks today, where we'll discuss everything you ever wanted to know about the Islamic finance. We're going to have excellent panelists and speakers who are willing to share their knowledge and expertise with us. Throughout the webinar, we ask you to listen, but of course, you can ask and write your questions in the chat box, and our team will do their best to address them. In addition, we'll be promoting Tadamon Ramadan campaigns, and our team will include the link in the chat box so you can donate and support them. Okay, so let's start with the agenda for today. We have started with the opening and welcoming remarks by Mohammed Javabra and Eyas Giris. We're continuing with the panel discussion. Each panelist will have 5 minutes to present their work and experience with Islamic finance and how it relates to the civil society organizations. After presentations, there will be a led discussion with Q&A. So who are our panelists? We have Samina Akram, the managing partner, Samak Ethical Finance. El Hadi El Nahoui, he's a senior Islamic finance specialist at Isfd. Greget Kala Buana, Islamic finance specialist, UNDP Indonesia. Muhammad Abdul Qadir Agha, founding member of Hassana platform. Vikra Iyas, chief of product, Kitabiso. Okay, so we wish you all an exciting journey through Islamic finance. Samina, we are glad you could join us today, and I'm pleased to have you on Tadamon Talks. Please start with your presentation. Thank you.
I think Samina is having some technical difficulties, so I think we can skip her for now, and hopefully she'll be joining us in the discussion.
No problem.
Marina.
Thank you, Svetla. Then we are going with El Hadi El Nahoui. Thank you, El Hadi.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Do you hear me? It is okay?
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Yeah, we can hear you.
Is it
Thank you.
We'll be, never mind.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to participate in this very interesting workshop. As you are aware, poverty is one of the biggest challenges that the whole world is facing, and IDB in that context is giving a very great importance to combating poverty. Sayyidina Imam Ali, the fourth Khalifa of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, has said, لو كان الفقر رجلا لقتلته. If the poverty was a man, I would have killed him. So poverty is, as I have mentioned, it was one of the biggest challenges faced in the world, and particularly in IDB member country. Unfortunately, despite that the IDB member country population represent only about 1/5 of the whole population in the world, the poor in the member country represent almost, unfortunately, 50% of the poor in the world. So it is a very big challenge for these countries, and particularly IDB is giving a great importance as one of its strategic objectives to create program for combating poverty. And my colleague in the Isfd has mentioned one of those programs. I will have mentioned quickly one of the IDB program regarding how to combat or to intervene in member country for combating poverty, which is the MDP program, which has started in 2008, Microfinance Development Program. The objective of that program is to make a feasibility study in selected member country based on which microfinance will be after that established. The program has covered, as far as I remember, maybe about 10 or 12 member countries, like, for example, Tunisia, Senegal, Maldives, Pakistan, Guinea, and some other. As an outcome of that exercise, IDB in coordination with some other partner has created microfinance in Tunisia, Zaytuna Tamkeen, and contributed in creating two microfinance institution or bank, like the Ibda Bank in Sudan, in coordination with the Gold Program for development based in Riyadh. And in Senegal also, the institution is almost, I think it has started or about to start. The objective of the program is to reach the grassroots level people who are excluded from having a chance to be financed or to deal with the conventional banking system. In addition to some other this program, IDB also has launched another study for creating a Zakat institution that was also in the same period, 2008, 2009, something like this, a Zakat development program for creating an institution, a capacity building institution to assist Zakat institution in the world, but unfortunately for some reason, the institution was not, could not be launched, but in the same time, IDB is providing capacity building to Zakat institution and to institution interested in combating poverty, either through the microfinance program or some other program, or through line of financing allocated to bank or institution in a member country for reaching the medium and small enterprise. One of the very recent initiative was through the Economic Empowerment Development Department, which was launched during the pandemic to help the medium and small enterprise, because as you know, the pandemic has affected everyone in the world, particularly those small and medium enterprise. The 7-member country has benefited of this program for an amount of the approved project in the 7 countries has reached about 90 million thousand. And the program also is targeting another 7 countries with almost the same amount. There are some projects in the pipeline. The objective is still within this context of helping and assisting the poor in the member country or everywhere. In that context also, IDB in coordination with some United Nations organization, together they have created either Waqf fund or Zakat program for reaching also part of those who are the poor in either for refugee or some other beneficiary.
Thank you, Adi. Apologies for interrupting you. I'm just thinking about also the other panelists. So if we can just maybe close this part, and then we'll have a lot of time during the panel discussion to really present the program. And thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for being long, but in conclusion, thank you very much. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. The next one is Greget Kalabuana, our colleague from UNDP Indonesia. Welcome, Greget.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marina, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, everyone. First of all, I would like to say Ramadan Mubarak to everyone here, and thank you so much to Tadamon team, especially from the Isfd, SDB, and UNDP Istanbul Regional Hub for giving me representing UNDP Indonesia to talk about and share with you our experience in engaging with Islamic finance for the sake of sustainable development goals, particularly in Indonesia. Before started the experience on leveraging zakat for SDGs, I think it will be very beneficial to everyone here to know the understanding or reason why we as UNDP engage with Islamic finance. As we know that the discussion about the SDGs has always led to the financing gap issue amounting to at least 2.5 trillion USD per year, and the figure could be higher during the pandemic right now, which is a serious setback for SDGs. And talking about Indonesia, we need at least 4.75 trillion, as you can see on the slide, and over 300 billion to achieve the SDGs and the climate target respectively by 2030. But when it comes to financing, governments and international development partners cannot be responsible alone, and it leaves an ample opportunity to increase the financing through philanthropic giving, including social finance, Islamic finance, private sector investment, and another innovative and alternative financing instrument. And so the understanding is that the gap is the reason why everyone is searching for a new alternative innovative finance. And we can see that the Islamic finance instruments, be it zakat, wakaf, suku, microfinance, or takaful, is one of the strong candidates to fill the gap. But it's not just simply because Islamic finance has such huge asset or rapid growth, as already mentioned by many literatures, but also because of the commonalities between Maqasid al-Sharia, or the objective of Islam, and the SDGs. And at this point, SDGs and Islamic finance have the same values in many perspectives, especially in the development ecosystem. And for Indonesia, working with Islamic finance is also in line with the government's priorities, because we are aiming at making the country as major global hub for the Islamic finance industry. And also from the supply side, when we talk about crowdfunding, we are claimed as Indonesia as the most generous country in the world, again, back to 2018 and 2021, according to the World Giving Index. And talking from the global stage, global perspective, engaging with Islamic finance is not only handled by Indonesia, UNDP Indonesia. We have so many country offices engaging in this industry. And we have a global strategy by channeling, by harnessing Islamic finance instruments. So basically UNDP helped to channel grants for Islamic finance to implement development projects, and then catalyzing, supporting Islamic finance stakeholders to align their activities with the SDGs, for example, Green Suku, and convening like what we are doing right now. So basically connecting stakeholders to join Islamic finance for the SDGs movement. And with this, UNDP Indonesia established Innovative Financing Lab in 2017 to mobilize more resources towards the SDGs, and Islamic finance is one of the significant elements, together with blended finance, sustainable finance, and social impact investing. And all of these elements are working collaboratively, interrelatedly. Let me provide you with an instance, which is zakat, as mentioned by colleagues from ISDB earlier. Next slide. Because right now we are in the Ramadan vibe, so zakat may be the best related to the crowdfunding. So it is basically Islamic contribution for Muslims whose earnings above a certain threshold, and they should allocate at least 2.5% of their income overall to a group of beneficiaries according to the Quranic principle. So in a sense, this is the largest wealth redistribution mechanism in existence. And unfortunately, given the large number of Muslim population in Indonesia, and some of them categorized middle class, the number of collected zakat never reached the potential, which is 16 billion zakat annually. And when it comes to the issue of G20, because Indonesia currently holding the presidency, if zakat is a country with potential at the global level over 500 billion, the zakat itself will be one of the G20 member states. So we can imagine how big the zakat potential it is. But the challenge is that we have low awareness and literacy about zakat and Islamic finance in general. the lack of public trust, so that people prefer channeling their zakat or crowdfunding or donation in general directly to beneficiaries, just to get a direct relation. And then also there is a need to expand the access of those who are unbankable by enhancing the effectiveness of zakat. And this is the story that UNDP has always showcasing regarding zakat for refugees. So we started 2017 to blend the zakat, CSR, and global environment facility to support the implementation of micro hydropower plants project that benefits more than 4,000 beneficiaries in one of the poorest provinces in Indonesia. And because of the successful and remarkable achievement, then UNDP at the corporate level signed an MOU with World Zakat Forum, the forum that recently changed its name to World Zakat and Wakaf Forum. And also during the pandemic, we continued the collaboration with National Zakat Authority in Indonesia and UNDP to support the disaster recovery. So after moving from renewable energy, we covered disaster recovery intervention. So that's just showing that zakat is not only about the poverty, but we can also support the intervention through zakat productive distribution. And from the energy that's supplied by this micro hydro installation, it leads to a 60% savings in energy costs for households that previously using oil lamps, and 90% for those previously using diesel generators. And we can see that it also linked to climate change, and the end user of the cost of the electricity is expected to be lower than the tariff of the state-owned energy company, like 75%. And also there is expectation that this installation will reduce the carbon emission annually to 117 ton. So today we have 5 installations in operation, and currently the poorest village being developed, and the level of the status of the village increased from the very poor. Right now is developing villages, and they have school, healthcare, and business enterprises, even tourism, and already awarded by the government of Indonesia as one of the most popular highlands in Indonesia. And so the economy is growth. So you can see that there is a shifting, paradigm in using zakat from consumptive model by giving them like one shot. So we shift the disbursement to productive model, and I think this is one of the remarkable example that zakat crowdfunding can support the SDGs. I think I'll stop here and back to you, Marina.
Thank you so much, Greg, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more later in our discussion. Now we can go back to our first panelist, Samina Akram, again, the managing partner from Untitled Finance. Just maybe to spice up the things, I will propose that after 5 minutes, I will raise my hand so the panelists can see that we are over the 5 minutes, and just to restructure its time. But thank you so much, everyone. I really wish we could have more time, to go really a little bit deeper in all of your projects, models, and the things you're doing. Samina, welcome on board.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, I'd like to begin by thanking the UNP to invited me to this event. It's a huge honor for me. I wanted to give you a very quick overview of the Islamic finance industry, maybe some of the key market trends, and also what the key growth areas are. Is my presentation online?
You've been made co-host, and you can directly share it.
Oh, can I? Share screen. Okay, I can't seem to find it. I'm not really that technical. Okay, I'll just kind of go right in, because I know I don't really have much time. Now, Islamic finance is a way of managing money that keeps within the moral principles of Islam. So while the eradication of interest in its all forms is an important aspect of the Islamic financial system, there's much more to Islamic banking. So at the heart of Islam is the sense of cooperation, transparency, and fairness. In essence, it aims to end exploitation and to establish a just society by the application of Sharia or Islamic rulings to the operation of banks and other financial institutions. Now, to ensure Sharia compliance, most banks will often hire a board of Sharia scholars. So Islamic finance is very much based on ethical principles, including sharing risks, profit and loss, and a strong focus on real activity. A key factor behind the modern economic crisis is the growing dominance of the disconnect between the real economy and the finance sector, to which the conventional financial industry is a key contributor. In contrast, Islamic finance aims to establish a real economy where all the transaction must be asset linked. Sorry? Someone was speaking to me. Now, according to the Refinitiv and Islamic Development Bank 2020 report, the sector for Islamic finance contributes the bulk of, the banking sector contributes to the bulk of the global Islamic finance assets. If we look at the Sukuk industry, this is also a major player within the Islamic finance industry. So the outstanding value of Sukuk has expanded strongly in recent years, reaching 426 billion at the end of 2017. The fund space is also a major growth area for the Islamic finance industry. The Islamic finance fund sector has developed considerably in the past decade. Reuters stated that the market for Islamic funds worldwide increased to 110 billion in 2017. Now we're here obviously to speak about Islamic social finance. The concept of zakat and sadaqah is also playing a major role within the Islamic finance industry. So as you know, zakat is one of the major pillars, of the main 5 pillars of Islam. Zakat is a compulsory duty provided by, provided that we meet certain criteria. The concept of zakat is to purify one's wealth. It's an obligatory charity. According to the Islamic Development Bank, with around 1.6 billion Muslims globally, they estimate that the potential of zakat it could be as much as 1 trillion. Now, the concept of sadaqah, which is not compulsory, but something that's seen as a voluntary activity to please God, this is also really driving the Islamic social finance area. So in the UK, there was a poll that was done in 2013 by IACM Research, and they actually found that Muslims give more to charity than any other religions, which was quite interesting. So followers of Islam gave an average of $567 compared to Jewish givers who donated around 412, according to a survey of just over 4,000 people in the UK. Islamic finance is growing worldwide. Key areas, Malaysia, which are probably the more sophisticated developed markets. But the other places like the Middle East have, kind of like caught up in over the past decade or so. The Western focus on Islamic finance is hugely strong as well. So here in the UK, we have 6 standalone now FCA registered banks. The UK government has been playing a key role in trying to make the UK as an international hub for Islamic finance. It's the regulatory system, very forward-thinking, actually, regulatory system, I think is opening up a lot of doors for international investors. I'll end here because I know I've only got a couple of minutes. I hope that's given you a basic insight into, what Islamic finance is about and how it's kind of expanding globally.
Thank you, Samina. Definitely, it sounds very interesting. And personally, I'm also happy to hear more during the discussion panel. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you.
We have 2 more left. We have the first one, Vikra Ilyas, Chief of Product from the crowdfunding platform Kitabisa from Indonesia. Welcome, Vikra.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and thanks, Marina. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So let me share my screen. Yep. So first of all, welcome to Indonesia, the most generous country in the world, according to Charities Aid Foundation for their 2021 World Giving Report. But as my brother Gregot mentioned earlier, the irony is that despite being the most charitable country in the world, there's still a huge gap between what's our potential in terms of zakat and charity compared to what's realized year on year. In spite of 200 million of Indonesians are donating annually. So Kitabisa, we are an online platform that facilitates donations, zakat, and online fundraising. We seek to become that digital bridge for people who want to channel their sadaqah, infaq, wakaf, and any forms of charitable giving, whether it is Islamic or any universal causes. We're available in Android and Play stores. What we provide for donors is access to thousands of verified campaigns that they can donate or channel their zakat to. So whether they are individuals raising money to help with to finance their medical cost, or verified nonprofits who are collaborating with us to fundraise for their programs. Now, here's the key. These we call it spare change donations. I think most people think that donations must be made with big amount, but we try to flip it upside down and say that in fact you can donate as little as low as possible. It's the intention that counts, and it's the regularity from that donation habit that will give you that long-term benefit as well. So people can donate for as low as 0.07 cents on our platform. Now, every donors will receive updates from all of the campaigns that they donated to, delivered straight to their inbox in their Kitabisa app. And finally, we try to help people build and stick to their giving aspiration, their giving habit aspiration. Now, a quick quiz. What time do you reckon is the most popular, peak traffic hour in Kitabisa? So when is the most popular time for people to donate? I know I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to spill you the answer. It's Fajr time. So the most popular time that people use the app is in fact Fajr time, between 4 to 6 a.m. And we find this, very unique, non like other, commerce or marketplace application. So Alhamdulillah, today we are trusted by many Indonesians to become a facilitator of their kindness. Last year, we facilitated 31 million transactions. So these are donations coming from more than 3 million donors from Indonesia. And we're currently really focusing on our mobile app, because on average, people who adopted our mobile app, they donated, almost on a daily basis. So the average transactions being made in a year is over 132 times. Now, obviously, these are beyond numbers, because what we look at is the real world impact and the real world event that happens through people's donations. And so that's our mission, translating your fingertip into real world help, hope, and happiness at scale. Specifically for Ramadan, obviously, this is a blessed month for all of us. But in terms of charitable giving, you can see the trend. This is Ramadan 2021. Almost always, every year, in the final day before we pray our Eid prayer, donation will spike. I think people will pay their zakat fitra, people will pay their annual zakat, and people just maximize the last day of Ramadan to channel their charitable giving. So you can see it's like a 3 to 4 times increase. And that mini spikes prior it's Fridays. So you can tell that the behavior of Friday givings is really apparent in our community. And that's it. Look forward to discuss further during the discussion. Back to you, Marina. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Vikra. And I think actually this is it. We went through Samina, El Hadi, Greget. Oh, apologies. We have Mohammed Abdulkader Akha, founding member of Hasana platform. I was just counting my 5. Nice to have you on board, Mohammed. Really happy to hear your presentation.
Thank you, Marina. Let me share the screen. Ramadan Kareem to everyone, allow me just to follow the lines of the presentation that was just done by Kitabisa. What we tried to do with Hasana is to deliver a Kitabisa to all Muslims across the world. So we really share the vision and we seek the same impact, but we approach it from more of a kind of a global perspective, to deploy technology and put it at the fingertips of whoever wants to use it. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Do tell, please. Let me see if I'm in. Yes, we're in. So really quickly, I mean, we have a short video that really explains the user experience on Hasana and how it can be used. But I'll touch on key points, again, basically on the perspective of why do we want Hasana to deliver similar benefits like Kitabisas, but more so for Muslims around the world. So we approach it from a global perspective. Any Muslim that lands on the platform can see the hot spots around the world in terms of what's happening, where giving is required. they can search for causes, countries, and organizations to support. There's more than 4,000 projects on the platform. And we link everything they do with the SDGs, with the causes that they want. We link it to a specific goal that they want to achieve every year. And we try to share with them reminders, whether or not they are catching up with specific causes. As you can see here, this is the dashboard. When we talk about Islamic financing, think of this as an investment dashboard per se, an Islamic investment dashboard. So if you are passionate about helping children, this dashboard will tell you that only this amount went really to the cause that you're passionate about, while you've spent more on other causes. Maybe rightfully so, but we're helping with transparency and accountability. So we're not influencing the Muslims' opinion, and rather we simply just share with them transparency and data to guide their decisions each time they try to give. The platform is available in several languages, almost all the UN languages, plus a couple of others. We really focus on Muslim majority countries. We also have a number of small and large organizations on the platform, as you can see here. And the platform, we are so blessed that we've been recognized in such a short period of time by many entities like Stanford Social Innovation Review and the Gates Foundation, and obviously the UK Charity Commission, where we are registered in London. So in a nutshell, what we're trying to do here is to deliver technology at no cost to both sides of the giving cycle, the supply and the demand, the givers and the recipients. And we try to maximize the impact by allowing more transparency and accountability throughout the experience. I know that I'm limited to 5 minutes, but if I can steal 2 more minutes for additional to it, I'll ask my colleague from UNDP to run the video, if that's at all possible.
The video, I dropped it in the chat, so I think everyone has it.
Okay, great. Then we'll leave it to everyone's review, and we can address questions that they may come.
Thank you, Mohammed. Okay, so we can now skip and we can go directly to the panel discussion. Our team has prepared some questions, but of course, if anyone has a question, just write it down, write it in the chat box. If we cannot answer it now, we will do our best to answer it later and to get in contact with you. So please use this opportunity to ask the questions. Okay, so I will start with Greget, Samina, and El-Hadi. Greget, who can give us the perspective, the UNDP perspective, Samina, more of the business perspective, and El-Hadi, the bank perspective. So what are the advantages of Islamic finance? And what do you think, what contribution can Islamic finance contribute or make to development and achieving the SDGs? So what are the advantages and how the Islamic finance can help us in achieving the SDGs? Greget, you can start first, Samina, and then El-Hadi. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Marina. This is actually the frequent question that already asked by many UNDP partners. So back to my presentation earlier that we are facing the financing gap. So basically the Islamic finance is one of the, the resources that we can tap into, but we are not talking about the money because the money is there, but the way we're using the money, or what is it for, and the impact that can be shared together from the Islamic finance perspective and also from the development perspective. So when talking about Islamic finance from UNDP perspective, we have to keep the UNDP faith neutrality. So we trying to leverage the money to develop the impact, and the impact that can also support the Muslim community in achieving the SDGs. So I can say that it works both ways. So we develop the SDGs using Islamic finance, and we also introduce the value of SDGs in Islamic finance. So the reason why partners from diverse background, for example, from private sectors, and then from development partners as well, from NGOs, CSO, seeing UNDP as part of the SDG enabler, to adapt SDGs value into their activity in terms of Islamic finance. So we are working on both ways with SDB as well. I hope it answers your question.
Thank you. Samina? We cannot hear Samina, thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I feel that the SDGs have a strong role to play. Islamic finance has a strong role to play in supporting the implementation of the SDGs. Now, a few years ago, our forum, the Women in Islamic and Ethical Finance Forum, we organized a webinar focused on how the teachings of the SDGs are actually in compliance with the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. So we had world-renowned scholars like Sheikh Nizam, Daud Bakr, which I know a lot of my Indonesian friends will recognize, who jumped on board. And it was very interesting because they said that, you know, the United Nations, these kind of their conventions are very recent, whereas the state of Medina, where Muhammad established this constitution of Medina, a lot of the SDGs, you know, end poverty, the human rights violations that the SDG focuses on, climate change, animal rights. These are all concepts that were very much in compliance in what the Prophet was preaching. So I think obviously the Muslim world holds a lot of assets, and I feel that quite strongly that, you know, we kind of have a very strong role to play within this area. Now we're beginning to see a lot of the Islamic banks, they are actually focusing now on trying to achieve the SDGs. So for example, one of our clients here, Gatehouse Bank in London, they're actually one of the founding signatories to the UN Principles of Responsible Banking, which was launched in September 2019. And according to Gatehouse Bank, the UN principles provide the framework for a sustainable banking system and help the financial sector demonstrate how it makes a positive contribution to society. And we're beginning to see other banks like CIMB, they've also working, you know, very passionately on the ESG kind of space. They became the first, I believe, Malaysian bank to issue an SDG bond a few years, I think, yeah, this was a few years back. So we're beginning to see that the market is within the Islamic finance space is really kind of like, you know, moving within this space and trying to educate itself and see how we can use, you know, these kind of goals to further help us come back on target.
Thank you. El Hadi, if you maybe want to add something.
Yes, thank you very much for the question. Why the Islamic finance? In addition to what have been said by the colleague, I think the answer will be that the philosophy of Islamic finance is based on that we call it ethical finance, because in Islamic economy, there are two important pillars: the pillar of production and the pillar of distribution. Why production? Because the economy needs to grow. And why distribution? Because Islam wants the wealth or the money or whatever to be distribution to the maximum of people in the world, instead of being just within the hand of minority of people. If we come back to the financial crisis 2008, one of the reasons, this is not from a Muslim perspective, it is from the Western perspective, was because of the debt. So Islam has prohibited the debt because the essence of Islamic finance is that any transaction should have a tangible asset for it. And the financial crises which are frequently happening is because the global financial system is not taking into consideration the tangible asset in the transaction. So the debt is growing without an asset baked for that, and for that the financial crises are continuously repeated. For that, the Islam has prohibited riba, has prohibited debt, has prohibited gambling. So in a way that the economy will be safe. And for that reason also, Islam has encouraged not only in addition to production to real work, has encouraged people to gain halal revenues, which mean the interest rate, which is the essence of the capitalism, is that people consider in the conventional system that money is a good, while in Muslim Islam perspective, it is just a mean of change, and you don't deserve the profit if you are not taking risk. This is one of the big difference between the two systems. So Islam encourages people to take the risk. Of course, risk is not an objective as in itself, but everything in the life, everywhere in the life there is a risk. But you deserve the profit because you are taking risk. If you don't take risk, you are not deserving the revenue you are getting, because that would be on the account of other. So for Islam, the justice is that people have to share in an equitable way the outcome of their financial or whatever transaction they are doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, El Hadi. Now let's move to our platforms. So Vikram and Mohammed, how bright is the future of Islamic finance in or for crowdfunding for development? What do you see as the biggest opportunities or challenges? Whoever wants to start first, maybe Vikra, you, and then we can move to Mohammed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I personally think there's a huge opportunity, especially in a country like Indonesia, as I think my brother, fellow Indonesian brother Greg had mentioned. The literacy, Islamic finance literacy, is still relatively, or I would say significantly very low in a country like Indonesia. So there's definitely a lot of homework, even for in our platform, a term like wakaf, endowment, which is very powerful, which has a lot of potential. Not many people know of. So we don't create a category called wakaf. We blend it in with donations so that people is more willing to try it out. So I think the potential is definitely there. There's a lot of homework in education. And the other one is I am actually inspired by the mission that Brother Muhammad is carrying with creating this global Ummah community. Because for us, we focus on a single market because we feel like that different countries have different giving culture. But looking at the potential of Islamic finance means the potential of a global community sharing very similar the same principles and values. So I think that's my point of view on the potential.
Thank you, Vikra. And to your point, Marina, I think the challenges are there from our perspective. The Islamic generosity is already there, and the intention to help is already there. But obviously, there are many impediments to these massive resources and good intentions. The stats are clear. There's more than 250 billion being given every year by Muslims. Yet, 31 out of 33 crises around the world happen in Muslim majority countries. So something is not connected. And this is why we thought about Hasana, and we thought about just providing that transparent, accountable connectivity tool so that Muslims can be informed before they make their choices. And then when they make their choices, they can track the impact and have visibility without having to worry about their giving too much, because they need to worry about making their own living and taking care of their own families and communities. The challenges, the massive challenges that exist, which I believe are justified, but we need to find a way to work with them rather than around them, are mainly focused on the regulatory systems, because each and every government has its own setup and its own context. And there are issues that are cultural, there are other issues that have to do with national sovereignty and security, which complicate the flow of charitable funds. So with Hasana, we really try to provide tools for everybody, even the regulators, right, to be able to have a certain level of transparency so they are comfortable allowing this ecosystem to interact freely and to achieve greater impact. Will we get there? I think we will. It's inevitable. Technology is really leading the way of life these days. If we utilize it properly, we can definitely maximize the impact of what's already a lot of money given every year. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Maybe you can stay here. So it is the month of Ramadan. What is your advice to the civil society organizations, and of course to the organizations and the people that we have today on the call, and to everyone that will be watching us later offline? What is your advice to them? How to do crowdfunding during the Ramadan? Is there some do's and don't do's, like pros and cons? And then also Vikra, if you can also take it over. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Ramadan is an extremely generous season, but at the same time, it's extremely saturated. So the entire sector spikes its activity at the same time. Any good cause, any good charitable organization that's trying to attract funds is really challenged with a lot of other players that are going hyperactive at the same time. My advice is to focus on the real promoters, which are the actual donors, right? Not only to ask them to give, but also to promote the cause. And we have created tools for that on Hasana, and I'm sure there are tools on other platforms as well. But these donors, it is much more impactful for them to create a fundraiser for that charity that they like than just to give it a certain amount of money. And there are tools again on Hasana and other platforms, like to connect people to give on monthly basis, small increments, to schedule their giving. All of these things make it easier on the giver just to schedule what they need to give and let it be. And then as the reporting comes in, and Hasana is a great tool for that, you need to report very short, very crisp. There is no need for long stories, but very impactful stories, pictures, videos, to touch the lives and the hearts of the people that are giving, allow them to share it, to promote these causes. With the Indonesian example, everything spikes towards the end of Ramadan. That's absolutely true. I think the beginning and the end of the month is when you really need to be very, very active. In the middle, it becomes too saturated. You have to continue consistency, but really focus on the beginning and the end.
I would just add a little bit on that. Maybe this is more for Indonesian context, because not. I think for many donors in Indonesia, they're still nervous about subscribing to an organization. So make sure you give as many options for them to get a taste of what it's like in supporting the cause that you're championing, to support your organizations. That's why we're facilitating, like I think what Brother Muhammad is saying, getting people to fundraise on your behalf, or maybe collecting those micro givings, micro sadaqah, so that at least they know they're attracted enough to try to donate to your organization one time, and then it's your homework to try to deliver an update or an impact report that will blow them away, so that they will later be convinced in supporting you long term. I think that's my 2 cents. Hope it helps.
Thank you. It helps a lot. We are moving back to Samina and Greget. So what do you think, what is the future of Islamic finance in sort of the post-COVID-19 world? Or maybe to reframe it, how can Islamic finance help CSOs in recovery efforts of the COVID-19 pandemic? Samina and then Greget. Thank you.
If I just focus on the first part of your question, the COVID situation has been extremely tough for a lot of people. People have been faced with death, mental health issues. I think now we're beginning to see that people are really, asking serious questions. Why am I here? What is my life contributing to the world? What am I leaving? What legacy am I leaving for future generations to come? So we're beginning to now see that people are translating this into financial decisions. And what's so interesting is the forum that we run, Women in Islamic and Ethical Finance Forum, we've actually seen in the past 2 years, there has been a stronger application coming from women and the millennials. And what's interesting is that there's actually a lot of major studies by Goldman Sachs and various companies out there that are saying that it's actually the women and the millennials that are driving change. Now, it's the younger generation that we're seeing, they want no part to play in destroying the environment. They're standing up for climate change. This is the generation that wants to end poverty. Here in the UK, we have Marcus Rashford, the footballer, amazing initiative, and how he kind of turns government thinking as well. Really just driving this movement on ending poverty. We had one intern and she had a job offer from a very small firm and a very large organization. And to her, she decided to go for the small firm because she believed that in the large organization, there was no opportunity for women to progress. So this generation, I think, is thinking very differently. And I think the future for Islamic finance is extremely bright post-COVID because of these reasons.
Yeah, just to add a couple of more. In Islamic finance, we have two big streams. The first one is the social finance, and the second one is commercial finance. And sometimes we can blend the social and the commercial. And let me take an example from Indonesia in the post-COVID recovery. When it comes to social finance, we take the Islamic finance as one of the social safety net using zakat, using the grant called Qard Hasan or benevolent loan. So basically, by using zakat, we providing small grant or capital to the MSMEs without expectation that they will return because it is zakat. So it's an element that government is exploring right now, and because of the goal or the aim of the government, of my government, that it would like to be one of the hubs of Islamic finance, I think it's also important to mention that during the pandemic past 2 years, we issuing the sukuk, and the sukuk market is more stable and resilient compared to the conventional one. So we can try to explore more about the systemic Islamic finance. I mean, it's not just that the instrument, we're using the instrument, but how to adapt and to internalize the principle of the Sharia into more comprehensive way in terms of development. So I believe that the future of Islamic finance is no longer alternative, but it will be becoming a mainstream. Like as you can see, the UK is one of the most developed Islamic finance industry, and I think the country coming into top 15 Islamic finance based on the Global Islamic Finance Economic Index report. So it's not just talking about the Muslim majority country, Marina, so you can also tap into another.
No, thank you, Greg. I mean, if you can also just stay here. And what is the role actually of UNDP in supporting and unlocking Islamic finance to contribute to SDGs actively? Maybe from your also experience.
Yeah, because we are not a financial institution, and even we are not Islamic financial institution. So what we are doing is basically divided into three strategies or three approaches. So like I mentioned before, the first one is harnessing. So we try to channel Islamic finance instrument. We work with Islamic finance stakeholders to channel their money, their instrument into development project, SDG related project, including the impact. And the second one is catalyzing. Catalyzing means we support the Islamic finance stakeholders to align their activities into SDGs. For example, mentioning climate issue, climate change issue, and biodiversity, and then gender equality into the Islamic finance universe, be it in industry or creating new instrument with new impact measurement methodology. And the third one is convening. So we're connecting not only CSO with UNDP or UN agencies or government with CSO, but we also connecting academia, private sectors, and then like we're working also with World Bank in the Islamic finance sector as well to support the Indonesian government. So basically, there's three approach: harnessing, catalyzing, and convening that we are doing. Marina.
Thank you so much. Now we are going back to our crowdfunding platforms. This is also a question very interesting for us because as Haidana and Svetla said before, we just launched the Ramadan Tadamon challenge, let's call it. We have Tadamon campaigns actually now presented during the Ramadan. So one of the first questions that we are getting from our CSOs are how to create sort of the meaningful communication towards donors during the Ramadan time. Are there also sort of the rules how to do it? The type of language to use. So maybe Vikra, if you can tell us from your perspective, and then we can move to Muhammad.
Sure. I think as Muhammad has mentioned before, Ramadan is indeed, a blessed month. The spirit to give is definitely there, but it's at the same time, it's also saturated with, similar messages inviting to channel sadaqah, zakat, infaq. So I think you really need to play to your own organization's strength and really find the unique message or the unique content or the unique program that you are delivering and really needle on that. Really make sure you stand out from, the rest of the program. why you are different in a good way, why by donating to your organization, this will create an impact that can only perhaps be achieved or can be done through your organization. So that level of details is usually what works. So we always encourage people using Kitabisa to be as specific, as detailed, to explain their program or their beneficiary. Beneficiary is super important in Indonesian context because people really are used to just giving offline and seeing that, the change in people's face when receiving the gift, right? The donation. So by detailing who is it that will be the end beneficiary, typically will help convince people to donate even stronger.
Thanks.
That's right.
Mohammed, if you have anything maybe to add to reinforce the message.
I have to say, Vikra covered it very, very well. So nothing to add. Thank you, Vikra.
Okay, Mohammed, there are like a lot of interesting questions that we are also receiving all the time in the chat. So one of the questions was, what is your specific tactic, how to reach out to the donors, and who are the donors during the Ramadan time? Is there general Muslim population or diaspora? Do you have any kind of ideas or like maybe suggestion on this?
Sure. The best way to approach donors, and we've learned that from a lot of research when we scanned the market across different platforms. The actual promoter of a charity is either its own donors to promote it or the charity itself. Digital platforms are not helpful when they spend marketing dollars to promote charities because it comes across as an intermediary trying to promote something for some sort of a benefit. So the trust factor usually is scratched. I would definitely advise to focus on the loyal donors, to give them very easy tools to attract their networks to promote the charity. That's number one. And number two, yes, the diaspora usually are more generous because of the natural logic that comes with being a part of the diaspora. People leave their countries to seek different opportunities, better lifestyles, maybe more income. So they are, and obviously there is also the passion aspect where people are away and they're trying to help people back home. So they are more willing to give, right, at certain times. So the diaspora is definitely a community you need to focus on. If a platform or a charity is able to render benefits to these givers, like, especially in regulated markets, UK, Canada, US, where there are tax benefits, for example, maybe these charities need to consider if there's a large population in a certain demography or geography, then try to figure out a way where you could be, part of that incentive. If they give to that charity back home, some of the charities in India and in Pakistan are able to do that, by the way. I'm not sure about other countries, but it is something to look into. Sometimes it doesn't come with a lot of cost, to register the charity in a regulated market, so the giver could avail some tax benefit when they give. So it's something to look into, and it's definitely a good driver as well. Donors to promote the charity, and if there are any incentives or benefits to subscribe to, go for it with the diaspora.
Mohammed, one of the questions was, what are the sort of the mistakes that you usually see when people or the CSOs or the organizations are developing and implementing the campaigns during the Ramadan? Are there, some kind of very visible mistakes that you're all the time trying to address and say, like, don't do it like this, don't go this way?
Spending too much money on marketing, it's a waste.
This is really
Don't do it. What you need to do is to link yourself with an influencer or a group of donors or a partner that already has a very, very visible brand. People go into Ramadan and allocate half of their annual marketing budget towards that. That alone is not effective. That, with, again, the other factors that I mentioned, is extremely effective. But don't just spend money on marketing and expect results. You'd be just wasting your funds.
Thank you. This is really interesting.
Yeah.
We received a lot of questions. I'm not sure, do we have a time to go through all of them today? Maybe the last one to ask also Greget. So the question was asked by Irna Pucci Lestari. So how does the Islamic social finance program can be successfully implemented in countries that still have low Islamic finance literacy? What could be sort of the role of UNDP in helping that? Like increasing the literacy and supporting the implementation. You can also give, for example, the also Tadamon. You know, what could be also Tadamon role?
Yeah, so basically the issue of the low literacy index in Indonesia is faced not only by Islamic finance industry, but also conventional finance industry. So we actually have to homework like Brother Fikra said. But I think back to the topic of and the title of this event, actually the culture. So we can take this culture of Indonesia, I mean, through education, through the family. I mean, the smallest scope of community is family. So we're trying to, educate the children about the culture of giving, about the zakat, about the Islamic principle that it's actually universal and inclusive, and also for especially especially for the CSO, we can also learn by joining the Tadamon, because a lot of things to do, and we can learn many things about giving, about knowing zakat, wakaf, and how to deliver the impacts, not just donating, but we make sure that the impact is really felt and received by the beneficiaries. I think that's my answer, Marina.
Thank you so much. Okay, I think we came to the end of this really interesting Tadamon talks. Maybe before we give the floor to Eyas Giris, who will give us the closing words, I would like to ask all of the panelists, starting from El Hadi, if you can maybe sum up in 2 sentences, today, Tadamon talks, if you have anything maybe to say to the CSOs or to the general public. Thank you, El Hadi. We just cannot hear you because,
the Islamic finance is a tool to combat or reduce all kinds of social, political, economic troubles. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Amina?
I think Islamic finance, although it's one of the key kind of growing market trends in the financial universe, it's only 1% of world economy. It shouldn't be like that. I think the credit crisis and the COVID and all these crises have really exposed that we need a value, kind of based economic model. And I think Islamic finance actually has a lot of answers. The ethical finance, the ESG space has a lot of answers. I think what's really holding us back is awareness and education. So I kind of feel that the work that you guys are doing at the UNDP is absolutely phenomenal. We need more, institutions like the Islamic Development Bank, you guys, and it's just again a real honor to be with such a high esteemed panel. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Samina. Greget Vikra Mohammed.
Yeah, I think this is my this is my last sentences. As for UNDP, we have been working with Isfd, and I think this demonstrates the participatory development. So I ask you, everyone here, to join hand in hand to also explore Islamic finance for everyone, because it's inclusive and universal, to leave no one behind, because we are running out of time to 2030. I think that's the sentence. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm a big believer and I'm passionate with Islamic finance, but the key is to understand your market. So if you serve a market with a relatively low literacy and awareness of Islamic finance, then maybe go easy on some of the words. Don't make it intimidating for people to try it. Use the language of the people. I think that's the key in how we can unlock, the potential of Islamic finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikram.
Well, I have to echo everything that was just said and to extend an open invitation to everybody to go on Hasana, not necessarily to use it, just to tell us how we can make it better. And if you can use it, please go ahead, reach out. I am a member of this community and we are fully dedicated to make sure that Hasana is put at your disposal. Make sure to use technology. You know, the future is in technology. Technology is a tool, it's not a solution. So just make sure that you utilize it to your best. And with accountability, persistence, and transparency, a lot can be done.
Excellent closing word. Thank you, Mohammed. Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Marina. Thank you for all of the panelists. Thank you for the participant for an interesting questions and thoughts. And frankly speaking, myself personally, I got lots to know more. I'm not a specialist on Islamic finance. However, I have general knowledge, and you encourage me to read more personally on that. Again, I would like to thank all of the people who work on the back doors to make this done. And I would like to encourage all of you to keep your eyes on our social media. On Tadamon, we are on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. We are everywhere. So our doors is always open, and we are working with you shoulder to shoulder to support your community all over of our members' country. And again and again, follow us. There you will be updated with all of our activities, such as this one, other activity. And our aim is to build your capacity, is to support you, but we need you to work with us to implement that on the ground. Thank you, everyone. On behalf of the Islamic Development Bank and our colleague within Tadamon program, we become one family already. I would like to thank all of you for this interesting thoughts and participation, and wish you all of the best on your work. Thank you. Back to you, Marina.
Thank you. This is it. So we are closing the
have a
webinar
second, please?
and talk soon again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
السلام عليكم.
Waalaikumsalam.
السلام عليكم.
إلى اللقاء. رمضان مبارك.
رمضان مبارك.
رمضان مبارك. شكركم بزاف. شكرا.
السلام عليكم.
السلام عليكم.